Every life is a story, every moment a chapter. Here on Slow English Stories, we pause to listen.
Welcome to Slow English Stories.
Today we have a famous tale. It is called Hansel and Gretel.
Let's begin.
At the edge of a great, dark forest, there stood a small cottage. The cottage belonged to a poor woodcutter. He lived there with his 2 children, a boy named Hansel and a girl named Gretel. Their stepmother also lived in the cottage. She was the woodcutter's second wife.
These were hard times. A great famine was in the land. The winter had been long and cold. The family had very little to eat. The children's faces were thin. Their father's shoulders were bent with worry. Every day there was less food. The shelf in the kitchen was almost empty. Soon there would be nothing left.
One night, Hansel and Gretel lay in their beds. They could not sleep. Their stomachs were empty and aching. Moonlight came through the thin window. It made long, gray shadows on the floor. From the next room, they heard their parents talking. Their voices were low and quiet.
"What will become of us?" the father whispered. His voice was full of sadness. "There is only half a loaf of bread left. After that, we will all starve."
The stepmother was quiet for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was sharp and hard. "I have a plan," she said. "Tomorrow morning, we will take the children deep into the forest. We will take them where the trees are thickest. We will build a fire for them. We will give them a small piece of bread. Then we will go to our work and leave them there. They will not be able to find the way home. We will be free of them. Then you and I will have enough food to live."
In his bed, Hansel felt Gretel begin to shake. He could hear her soft crying in the dark. The woodcutter's voice was weak. "No, wife," he said. "I cannot do that. How can I leave my own children alone in the forest? Wild animals will come and eat them."
"You are a fool," the stepmother answered. Her voice was angry. "Then all 4 of us will die of hunger. You can start making our coffins now." She spoke for a long time. Her words were like sharp stones. The father said nothing. He was a kind man, but he was not strong. Finally, he agreed. He sighed, a long, terrible sound.
Gretel cried harder now. Her tears were wet on her pillow. "Now we are lost," she whispered to her brother. "Be quiet, Gretel," Hansel whispered back. He put his hand on her arm. "Do not worry. I will think of something. I will help us."
He waited until his parents were asleep. Their breathing was heavy in the silent house. Quietly, Hansel got out of his bed. The wooden floor was cold under his bare feet. He put on his small jacket. He opened the back door. The door made a small, creaking sound. He stopped, his heart beating fast. But no one woke up.
Outside, the moon was full and bright. It made the world look silver and white. On the ground were small white pebbles. They shone in the moonlight like little pieces of silver. Hansel bent down. He began to pick them up. He filled the pockets of his jacket until they were full.
Then he went back inside. He was just as quiet as he had left. He went to Gretel's bed. "Rest now, little sister," he whispered. "Everything will be all right." He went back to his own bed, and soon he was asleep.
The next morning, before sunrise, the stepmother came into their room. "Get up, you lazy children," she said. She shook them awake. "We are going into the forest to get wood." She gave each of them a tiny piece of bread. "This is for your lunch," she said. "Do not eat it before then. You will get nothing more."
Gretel took the bread. She put it in her apron. Hansel's pockets were full of the white pebbles. Then they all started to walk towards the forest. The trees stood tall and dark. They looked like silent giants watching them. As they walked, Hansel stopped. He looked back at the cottage again and again.
His father saw him. "Hansel, what are you looking at? Keep walking." "Oh, father," Hansel said. "I am looking at my little white cat. It is sitting on the roof. It wants to say goodbye to me." "You fool," said the stepmother. "That is not your cat. It is the morning sun shining on the chimney."
But Hansel was not looking at a cat. Each time he stopped, he took a pebble from his pocket. He dropped one shiny, white pebble on the path behind him. They walked for a long time. They went deeper and deeper into the forest. The trees grew closer together. Finally, they came to a small clearing.
"Children, gather some wood," the father said. "I will make a fire to keep you warm." Hansel and Gretel gathered small branches and twigs. Soon they had a large pile. The father lit the wood. A bright fire began to burn. The flames danced and sent sparks into the dark air.
"Now," said the stepmother, "lie down by the fire and rest. We're going to cut wood. When we are finished, we will come back and get you." Hansel and Gretel sat by the warm fire. At midday, they each ate their small piece of bread. They could hear the sound of an axe. They believed their father was nearby.
But it was not an axe. It was a branch. The father had tied it to a dead tree. The wind blew it back and forth. It made the sound of an axe. They sat by the fire for a long time. Their eyes grew heavy. Soon they fell asleep.
When they woke up, it was dark night. The fire was only a few red embers. It was glowing in the blackness. Gretel began to cry. "How will we ever get out of this forest?" she said. Hansel put his arm around her. "Wait until the moon rises," he said. "Then we will find our way."
When the full moon came up, its light shone down. The white pebbles that Hansel had dropped began to shine. They looked like a trail of silver coins. "You see," Hansel said. He took his sister's hand. They followed the shining stones.
They walked all through the night. As the sun began to rise, they saw their father's cottage. They knocked on the door. The stepmother opened it. Her face was full of anger. "You naughty children," she said. "Why did you sleep so long in the forest? We thought you were never coming back." But their father was happy to see them. His heart had been heavy with sadness.
Not long after, the famine became worse. One night, Hansel and Gretel again heard their parents talking. "Everything is gone," the stepmother said. "We have only half a loaf of bread left. We must get rid of the children. This time, we will take them even deeper into the woods, so they can never find their way back."
The man's heart was heavy. He thought it would be better to share the last piece of bread. But his wife did not listen. She shouted at him until he agreed again. The children had heard everything. Gretel began to cry. "What will we do now, Hansel?"
"Do not worry," Hansel said. "I will go out and get more pebbles." But when he went to the back door, it was locked. The stepmother had locked it. Hansel could not get out. He went back to his bed. His heart was full of worry.
Early the next morning, the stepmother woke them. She gave them each a piece of bread. It was even smaller than before. On the way into the forest, Hansel took his bread. He broke it into tiny crumbs inside his pocket. Every few steps, he stopped. He dropped a crumb on the path behind him.
"Hansel, why are you always stopping?" his father asked. "I am looking at my little pigeon," Hansel said. "It is on the roof and wants to say goodbye." "Fool," said the stepmother. "That is not a pigeon. It is the morning sun on the chimney."
They walked much farther than before. The forest was darker and wilder here. They made another fire. The stepmother said the same words. "Stay here, children. Rest and sleep. We will come back for you." At midday, Gretel shared her bread with Hansel. Then they fell asleep.
They did not wake up until the middle of the night. It was completely dark. Hansel comforted his sister. "Wait for the moon to rise, Gretel," he said. "Then we will see the breadcrumbs. They will show us the way home." When the moon rose, they looked for the path. But they found no crumbs. The thousands of birds in the forest had eaten them all.
"We will find the way," Hansel said. But he did not feel so sure now. They walked all night and all the next day. They could not find their way out of the forest. They only went deeper into the woods. They were so hungry. They ate a few sour berries. They grew weaker and weaker.
On the third day, they were too tired to walk. They lay down under a tree. They thought they would die there. Then, at midday, they saw a beautiful bird. It was as white as snow. It was sitting on a branch. It began to sing. Its song was so lovely that they stood still to listen.
When it finished, it spread its wings. It flew a little way in front of them. It seemed to want them to follow. They followed the snow-white bird through the trees. It led them to a small clearing. In the middle of the clearing, they saw something amazing.
It was a little house. But it was not a normal house. The walls were made of gingerbread. The roof was made of dark, sweet cake. And the windows were made of clear, shining sugar. "Look," Hansel cried. "We can eat here." He was so hungry.
He reached up and broke off a piece of the roof. "I will eat some of the roof, Gretel. You can eat the window. It will be sweet." Gretel went to one of the windows. She began to nibble on the clear sugar. It tasted wonderful. Hansel took a big bite of the cake roof. It was the most delicious thing he had ever eaten.
As they were eating, a soft voice called from inside. "Nibble, nibble, little mouse. Who is nibbling at my house?" The children answered, "The wind, the heavenly child." And they went on eating. They were too hungry to stop.
Suddenly, the door opened. A very, very old woman came out. She was bent over. She used a crutch to walk. Hansel and Gretel were so frightened. They dropped the food from their hands. But the old woman nodded her head and smiled. Her smile showed only a few teeth.
"Oh, you dear children," she said in a kind voice. "Who brought you here? You must be so tired and hungry. Come inside with me. No one will harm you here." She took them by the hand. She led them into her little house.
Inside, a table was set with wonderful food. There was milk and pancakes with sugar. There were apples and nuts. The children ate until they were full. After they ate, the old woman showed them 2 little beds. The beds had soft, white covers. Hansel and Gretel lay down in the soft beds. They thought they were in heaven.
But the old woman was not kind. She was a wicked witch. She built her house of bread and cake to trap children. She had red eyes and could not see very well. But she had a very good sense of smell like an animal. She knew when children were near.
The next morning, the witch got up. She looked at them sleeping. Their faces were round and healthy. "They will be a good meal," she said to herself. She grabbed Hansel with her thin, strong hand. She carried him out of the house. She took him to a small cage with iron bars. She locked him inside. Hansel shouted and cried, but it was no use.
Then she went back and woke Gretel. "Get up, lazy girl," she shouted. "Go and get water. Cook something good for your brother. He is in the cage outside. He must eat and get fat. When he is fat, I will eat him." Gretel began to cry, but she had to do what the witch said.
Every day, the best food was cooked for Hansel. Gretel got nothing but crab shells to eat. Every morning, the witch went to the cage. "Hansel, stick out your finger," she said. "I want to feel how fat you are." But Hansel was clever. He did not stick out his finger. He stuck out a little bone he had found. The witch's eyes were too bad to see the difference. She felt the thin bone and was surprised.
For weeks passed, and Hansel was still thin. The witch became impatient. She did not want to wait any longer. "Gretel," she shouted one day, "hurry and bring water. Fat or thin, tomorrow I will cook Hansel. Gretel was so sad. Tears ran down her face as she carried the water.
The next morning, the witch made a huge fire in the oven. First, we will bake bread, she said to Gretel. The oven was already hot. Flames were roaring inside. Crawl in, the witch said. See if it is hot enough. The witch wanted to close the door when Gretel was inside. Then she would bake her and eat her too.
But Gretel understood her evil plan. She said, I do not know how to do it. How do I get in? Silly girl, the witch said. The opening is big enough. Look, even I can get in. The old witch crawled a little way into the oven to show her.
In that moment, Gretel gave her a great push. The witch fell all the way into the hot oven. Gretel quickly slammed the heavy iron door. She locked it. The witch began to scream inside the oven. It was a terrible sound. But Gretel ran away. The wicked witch burned to death.
Gretel ran straight to Hansel's cage. Hansel, we are free, she cried. The old witch is dead. She opened the cage door. Hansel jumped out like a bird from its cage. They hugged each other. They were so happy they laughed and cried at the same time.
They were not afraid of the witch's house anymore. They went inside. They found boxes filled with pearls and precious stones. These are better than pebbles, said Hansel. He filled his pockets. Gretel filled her apron. Now we must go, she said. We must get out of this witch's forest.
They walked for a few hours. Soon they came to a large river. They could not cross it. There was no bridge and no boat. What will we do? Said Gretel. Just then, a beautiful white duck swam by. Gretel called to it. Little duck, please take us across on your white back.
The kind duck swam closer. It took Hansel on its back. It carried him to the other side. Then it came back for Gretel. When they were both safely across, they thanked the duck. After a while, the forest began to look more familiar. Finally, they saw their father's cottage in the distance.
They began to run. They burst through the door and ran to their father. They threw their arms around his neck. The man had not had one happy day since he left them. He was so overjoyed to see them.
When Gretel opened her apron, pearls and jewels fell out. Hansel emptied his pockets, and more jewels rolled across the room. Their troubles were now over. The father learned that his wife, their cruel stepmother, had died. And so the three of them lived together in happiness. The little cottage was no longer poor, and the dark forest held no more fear for them.
That is the end of Hansel and Gretel. We hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to Slow English Stories. Join us next time for another classic tale.